I, I do what I think is right in the time. And when I was studying this story over the last few days, every time I looked at that house, when I looked at that house, I thought, that's how she looks on the inside. I thought that you can't do that if that isn't how you look and feel on the inside. Nobody would consciously choose this. Nobody would consciously choose to live that way. Nobody would say, this is how I want to live. This is how I want my child to live. I mean, nobody would do that on purpose, right? So that means something is going on. There's some intervening variable that's going on here. And by the way, I don't think it's isolated. I think I know what's going on, and I think it's you, and I think it's you, and I think it's you. And I think people live something long enough that it becomes kind of their new normal. You've been this disheveled for a long time. When did it start?
I would say it probably started initially when I was 8 years old, and I was molested by a group of boys and an adult man that I should have been able to trust.
I've said, I really believe you generate the results in life you believe you deserve. And this may be the best example of it, the most graphic example of it I've ever seen. At 8 years old, a gang of boys get her down, and she didn't want to say it because she was saying, I know it's a family show, but they were brutalizing her. And then this serial killer, he targeted her and got her friend by mistake. And she knew that after the fact, that he was meant to kill her. And now she lives, that's supposed to be me. And so now she's got survivor's guilt. And then she gets in all these abusive relationships. And then she gets in a helping profession, and she tears her shoulder up trying to lift a patient. And it wasn't like a phony workers' she had 3 surgeries from that. I mean, it's just, it never ended. That's what I said. Other than that, everything went pretty well, right? She said, oh yeah, it was spectacular. And so I just think it was a perfect example of how she feels inside. And I've often said, anger is an outward manifestation of hurt, fear, or frustration. Look behind the outward emotion and ask yourself what's behind it. And that's what you have to do here. Look behind the outward manifestation of her life and ask yourself not what, but why. Not what does this house look like, but why would anybody choose to live that way? Because that's what they think they deserve. Because if this happens to you and you think, well, okay, so what am I now? They've done this to me, and so I'm now dirty. I'm now bad. I'm just trash. And so I look at your manifestation, and you live in trash. I said, what did you say to yourself? I was just trash. So she lives in trash. She lives like trash. And until she changes that, there's no help. That's why I think she's got to heal those wounds in herself. And her parents, they're in shock. We've got to help them. And so it's really a family situation. So, to deal with all of that in an hour-long broadcast is a lot. But I think we covered a lot of ground. And I think I saw light bulbs coming on over their heads. And so that's when I go home thinking, okay, that was a good day.